It is I, Tempest Naraman Dracovin, Lord and Emperor of the Dracovin Empire, and welcome. It is time to continue my discussion on Werewolf the Apocalypse in the World of Darkness. The last left off, we were talking about renown and gaining it. Let's talk about losing renown. Now, it is incredibly easy to lose temporary renown. It is something that can be done rapidly. You have to think that there's a pack mentality to Garou, so your actions will mean a lot of different things. So very easily, the actions you take could cause you to lose your temporary renown. That is something that can be often done. A storyteller should consider auspice, breed, and tribe, of course, when it comes to this, as there are certain expectations for the way that you're going to act and do things. If you act according to those, you're not going to be punished. On the other hand, if you act outside of that, you will be. It does make some difficulties, as if you're expected by one of these to be a troublemaker, and you're doing something very honorable, they might suspect that you're doing some kind of ulterior motive, and make it more difficult for you to gain something like honor or glory. It's an unfortunate part of it. It's harder for you to lose the temporary versions of those, but harder for you to gain anything. Now, a much more severe punishment is losing permanent renown. It can occur. This is doing something that is a violation of the basic dictum of Garou society. A good example would be, I frenzy, and I devour a human. Hey, guess what? That's terrible. I'm losing permanent renown. Now, the fact is that there are options for basically undoing this loss. Perhaps there were extenuating circumstances that a worm creature forced you to frenzy, which led to this happening. Then, because it was in the battle against the worm, it could possibly be excused. You might not lose it. On the other hand, maybe you gained a taste for human flesh and you're plan to go devour more of them because of it, and then you would actually lose it after that because you lived up to it. It's like, they were delicious. I might just snack on another one. Don't want to do that. That's leading you down a path that's not good. So it can lead you to the loss of that permanent renown. In this case, it would be honor. And yes. Now, the fact is, there's extreme social pressures on you in Garou society to maintain yourself in a certain way. And therefore, you can get into circumstances where you would possibly lose a permanent renown. If you eat the circumstances, you could try to go to an elder or the elders and prove to them that this was not a deserved loss. They could possibly put some kind of test in front of you, which, should you pass it, you'll prove to them that you were undeserving of this loss of renown. And if you fail it, there you go. Effectively, as the storyteller, you would design the test that your Garou are going to go against in order to regain this permanent renown, and the difficulty of succeeding at it. What kind of test? Difficulty, you determine it. You know pass or fail, and therefore, if they fail, the decision is final. There's nothing beyond that. They have their attempt to regain the renown that they had lost, and if they fail in this one, they can't regain it. They'll just have to rebuild themselves back up. It is important to note that you could lose the renown that qualify for your rank. You would lose that rank then. You lose the benefits and privileges of it. Though important to note, any gifts you learned while at that higher rank, you keep. So you get to keep all the gifts you learned, but everything else associated with that rank, you're losing if you lost that renown. Now, to advance in a rank, let's finally talk about that, you're going to be required to have a certain amount of renown. The amount of renown this is permanent renown, that you are required to have depends on your auspice. Whatever auspice will tell you what kind of combination of glory, honor, and wisdom you're going to require at every rank in order to go up to that next rank. There's a convenient chart in the book that you might want to check out, just to see how these things work. Now, once you reach that, advancement isn't automatic. You don't automatically just go up a next rank because I qualify for it. I'm going to require the assistance of a Garou of equivalent rank to the one I'm trying to get to, or higher. You will challenge an elder. This elder will come up with some kind of test that you will have to attempt to pass. If you are successful, they will effectively teach you how to be of the rank they either are at, or the rank that you are trying to get to if they are at higher rank than that. The type of contest and the difficulty of it is entirely up to the elder you're effectively challenging. So if it's an elder that likes you, they might make a relatively easy test. If they're one that kind of hates you, they might make a very difficult one. Or they could just make a difficult one because they feel like you need the challenge. If you best them in this contest, they're honor-bound to consider you that rank, regardless of how difficult it was and how much they maybe don't like you, but were willing to do this. It's up to the elder entirely what form this challenge takes, whether it's combat, something else, game sports, whatever. Now, you may only challenge an elder once, the same elder. You will have to challenge different ones. An elder will not accept a pupil they've already beaten, at least not of their rank. Effectively, if you lost to this one elder, went to another, trained with them, and you finally got to the next rank, you might be able to go back to that first one and you'd be like, oh, did you learn your lessons? I might be willing to accept you for this rank now because it seems like you proved yourself when you couldn't prove it to me before. Have you learned anything? There are some difficulties, and this means that, yes, you don't lose anything for failing to the elder. It's just that you might have to find someone else, basically. If this one doesn't work, I'll have to go to that one. There's a possibility of you as a Garu changing your auspice. This is called ruination. Ruination is a process in which you basically become a different werewolf in a way. You change your name. You lose all your renown but 3, the permanent ones. And the rite of ruination must be performed by you or with the help of another Garu. You get to keep all the gifts you had before, but you cannot learn any gifts of the auspice you had before. You may only learn gifts of the auspice you are now and the rank you are now. Some elders might require you to go through a rite of passage more difficult than the initial rite of passage you went through in order to basically put yourself as this new person in this place, to earn your first gift of this new auspice. Now, it is important, save for packmates, their exception here, for anyone that was familiar with your Garu to address them as they are familiar of their new personage, until the Garu that you are regains the rank you had before. So I go through ruination, I build myself up. If I return to the rank I was before, then those that had been familiar with me are able to address me as such. If not, they have to treat me as they're not familiar. Again, packmates are exception. They can continue to treat you as your familiar. Now, ruination is performed for a number of reasons. If you're a Garu criminal, ruination be given you as an option to basically rebuild yourself from the ground up instead of exile. Of course, you could also take exile, but there's a way that if you are seen as a criminal and want to stay within the pack. If you're filled with self-loathing and wouldn't want to commit suicide, this is an option instead of it. Also, if you lost all motivation and kind of will to do things, this might be a way to regain it back. There are stories of lost love which drives someone to ruination. Renunciation. Renunciation? God, I am bad at pronouncing it. So apologies to everyone right now if I'm mispronouncing this word. Renunciation. 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 I'm going to be bad at pronouncing this one every time I say it. So I've probably butchered it a whole bunch of times already today. So save it for the comments. I already know I'm butchering it. Anyway, and the last way, sometimes a Garu will dedicate to a purpose where they'll go through this renunciation in order to be dedicated to that purpose and show their want for it. And should they complete that purpose, they will regain the rank they once had, perhaps even, depending on the purpose that they went through this process for, the rank above it. Effectively, I'm putting a tailor on myself. I'm putting myself down to this lower level to rebuild myself and accomplish a goal along the way. And doing so proves my greatness, effectively granting me a lot of extra renown, quickly and efficient. Now let's talk about injury! Yay! You can get injured as a Garu. Alright, so you have health levels. If you've seen on your character sheet, these represent levels of damage that you're going to take. Things that you encounter will injure you over the course of your adventures. Most of this time, this is related to combat, of course. Every damage that you take reflects itself as one level of damage you take. From the lowest level, which is bruised, which you just kind of hurt a little bit, to incapacitated. Damage is going to be represented by checks as you take it over the course of your adventures. When you heal, you remove the checks until you've got none left. Now, should you reach incapacitated, your werewolf isn't necessarily out of the game. They are incapacitated or lower. You heal at a rate of 1 health level per hour while you're incapacitated. I'll talk about what you do when you're not incapacitated in a second. And once you get back to the incapacitated check being removed, regardless of how many, kind of removing all the extra damage that was down there, you're back up and at them. Once you hit that, though, you have to roll on the battle scar chart, which is not always forgiving. Now, there is a way to stay awake when you're incapacitated. You could roll Rage. Difficulty 8, and each success heals 1 level of health that you would take in below incapacitation, including aggravated wounds. That's an important one. Until you get back to not being incapacitated. You could basically power through the injuries through your rage, but you risk frenzy. So there's a disadvantage to this entire idea of pushing through, and you really can only use this once per scene. If you fail, you're unconscious. Regardless, again, battle scar chart. Even if you power through and heal that damage, it's still rolling on the battle scar chart. Now, Garou heal incredibly fast. You heal at a rate of 1 box per round. Yeah, that's how fast you heal your wounds. You're basically regenerating at an incredibly rapid pace. There are some exceptions. If you are Homid or Lupus breed, if you're on your natural form, basically if I'm human as a Homid or wolf as a Lupus, I heal at the normal rate of that breed. So if I'm in my human form, I heal at normal human rate. So if I get really injured as my human form, I probably don't want to be in it when I'm healing. I want to return to it after I've healed up. Same with Lupus. Now, Metis, of course, is an exception here because they have to get something good out of all the bad stuff they get. They can heal at any form, even when they're in their natural Krynos form. They get to just heal. That's a little advantage that they have. They don't have to worry about whatever form they're in and not healing. Now, normally this is assumed under non-stressful circumstances, but if you hit kind of stressful circumstances, aka combat or something of the like, you can still heal on your round. You can make a stamina roll difficulty 8. If you success, guess what? You can get that normal healing that you would have had. If not, you're too busy trying to worry about combat than let your body kind of heal on its own. So there is always that attempt to heal up on every one of your turns if you're in the middle of combat. The big exception to this is, of course, aggravated damage. It's so terrible, so vicious, it's very hard for you to recover from. You don't regenerate quickly from it. Things that cause aggravated damage: silver, that's a big one, fire, radiation, and the claws and fangs of other supernatural creatures deal aggravated damage. This is marked by an X on your boxes rather than a check. Now, you as a Garou can soak aggravated damage just like you soak normal damage, except for silver. We're going to talk about that, though. Aggravated wounds heal at a rate of 1 per day of rest. Now, there are other exceptions. Let's say you fall from an airplane at 10,000 feet. Your storyteller could say that's aggravated damage. That's an example of situations where other normal injuries could result in aggravated damage instead of normal damage. It's circumstantial. Something really terrible and horrible tears apart at your body in such a way, it's aggravated. Anyway, that's it for today. So, I first finished up talking about renown and losing it. I talked about gaining rank. I talked about, and I'm going to butcher it again, renunciation. God, I'm never going to say that word correctly. And basically changing your auspice, resetting yourself. And we finished up by talking a bit about damage and healing. We started with that. In the next episode, we're going to talk about more about the sources of injury and talk about some of the other things you're encountering as we're finishing up. Silver, battle scars, getting old as a werewolf. These are all things you're going to have to face, and we're going to talk about. Silver will be an important one. Anyway, hope you're having a great day. If you have any interesting stories about losing renown or challenges that you had for gaining a rank, both of these I would love to hear about. I would love to hear about a renunciation story. I'm probably butchering it once again. If you got a really great one of any of these things, please share them in the comments below. These are awesome stories that we can all share about our games out there. Remember to check out my links below, my Discord, Twitter, Twitch, Patreon. Great ways to contact me, check out my other material, and support me. And of course, until the next time, I bid you farewell.